16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo don't.
Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and get an extra game.
All funky colors. Shapes that swing.
It's impossible.
Game of level being seen, and it is virtually.
Therefore,
This episode brought to you by Disney. Despite the fact they desperately need your money, they also hate you with every fiber of their being. If you don't watch their stuff about how much they hate you, then they will accuse you of bigotry. Yay, Disney!
Goodness all, we are back once again, much like the Backstreet Boys, who are gone. Who are no longer here.
Oh, gone?
Well, they're not gone. They no longer... I don't know, it seems like you're hamstringing yourself when you make a song about, hey, we're back again, and then it gets popular, and then it no longer applies when nobody cares about your band anymore.
And then it's sad. It's just real sad.
Just real sad. Goodness, it's another podcast. We're here for episode 21 of all things. Now the podcast can drink. It can get plastered. It's not gonna. It's a responsible podcast. But it should.
Oh, well.
Because it has no friends and no one likes to hang out with it. Drinking alone is how cool people do. It's not a problem. That's not a sign of alcoholism.
Just how I
Drinking
relax,
alone.
okay?
We are. What's up, Jesse? We're hanging out, doing podcast. Jesse's joining us. Me and her have been memeing each other with cat memes lately, which is a good time. Jason, how are things going?
Always
highest
good
quality
choice.
of meat.
Oh, you know. Jason
What was
is
that?
paying attention, Jason. Focus on
Well,
the screen.
You kind of cut out for a second, so
Your mom cut out.
I am. Yeah.
How's it going, Jason?
Not bad. I finished a couple of anime this week. I finished Infinite Dendrogram, and So I'm a Spider, So What?
Ugh. So you went
Yeah.
down. You went down the
Infinite
bad
Dendrogram.
route.
Well, Infinite Dendrogram was just meh. It wasn't like super bad or anything. And So I'm a Spider, So What? There's been a lot of like a lot of love for that one. I'm not sure that I get all of that. I mean, it was okay.
Maybe
They
you're
did
not a
some
teenage
interesting things
girl
with the
and
isekai.
You're just not.
Yeah.
You're not the
Um,
right demographic for it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So, Infinite Dendrogram is considered an isekai, but I don't know. I don't necessarily consider the things that are like Sword Art Online to be isekai because they're just playing a video game.
Yeah, but you're transferred to another
now
world.
they are
haven't
in
actually
the
left
video
the
game.
Earth. I understand that they're on another world, but anyway,
Yes. And they're trapped there.
yeah,
I mean,
They're
would
not trapped. The
Overlord?
thing is, they can log out anytime they want.
Well, they die though.
Obviously, with the Sword Art Online, they couldn't. But Infinite Dendrogram, it's like you go in this world and anything is possible. And there's this one dude in the game who he just he's a psychopath. He just wants to destroy everything, which is like, well, that's kind of dumb. I guess you can destroy everything, but you've got everyone that is in the world that doesn't want you to, so it's you against the entire system. Okay, whatever. But it turns out that the two main villains are actually sisters in real life. They're playing males in the game for some reason. Yeah.
I mean, it
So
sounds
I'm a
like
spider.
your
So
bog,
what?
it sounds like your bog standard.
What was that?
It sounds like your bog
Yeah,
standard fantasy isekai thing.
It really was. It really was bog standard. There wasn't a lot in there that was like that they were trying to stretch, and there was a lot of just cliches that they fed into,
which happens a lot.
So yeah,
in
wasn't all that
your
great.
isekai
Yeah.
anime.
And then, so I'm a spider. So what? That one was, if you didn't actually look up stuff, they left too much stuff out of the anime that was, I think, that you could have found in the light novels. And so if you didn't go online to look stuff up, it would, for instance, the ending is supposed to be that they're like going off to, to save the world. But if you didn't understand, you were actually in the past at the end of the anime. It's kind of hard to say where you are. It jumps around time wise, but it doesn't necessarily give you the information that you're jumping around time wise. It's kind of trying to play it out as in it's all happening at the same time. But at some point, you're supposed to figure out that actually this stuff is happening in the past and this stuff is happening in the future. But there's not really a lot of indication that is the case. And on top of that, if you read online, it turns out that the girl who was isekai'd as the spider actually is not the girl. She actually, spoiler alert, she actually was a spider.
You put more effort
Earth,
into understanding what amounts to be a bad anime than
Yeah.
it deserves. Like literally, you're Googling, this show doesn't make sense and is bad. Explain the plot to me. It's like, if it doesn't make sense and is bad, stop right there, dude. Stop looking into it. Abandon
Exactly.
the show.
I mean, like I said, it was, this one at least was trying to do some good stuff, trying to go in a different direction. I just think it was executed poorly.
I have seen so much garbage anime. Like if I stopped with an explanation of every piece of crap I've seen, usually my reviews have to amount to it was all right, and that's like glowing praise compared to a bunch of the just
that's glowing praise.
Trash. Utter trash I have seen. Ross, how's it going, fella?
Oh, delightful. I mean, how could it not be? Let's
I
see.
don't know.
I mean,
If you're a white
didn't
guy, at
really
Disney,
a whole lot
maybe.
go on this week other than, huh?
Well, if you're a white guy at Disney, it might not be going so well.
Well, I mean, I would never work for those jackals anyway.
Okay.
No, it was good. It's a good week. Went over to your house and watched some amazing Lord of the Rings.
Rings of Power.
Excuse me, Rings of Power content. Can't just mix up these legally distinct versions of themselves because, yeah. And
Gran
also some
Turismo
wonderful
7.
PlayStation VR too. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's really cool.
So it was a good week. It's very cool. It made me a little bit sick to my stomach after a little bit, but I could get used to it. It's pretty cool.
Get that motion sickness going.
Mm.
Cars are too real. Too real. Oh, it's just that horrible, terrible.
Oh no.
Oh no,
Hit
she's
me.
here. Silver. What's going
Dear God, run!
on?
Oh no.
Silver? How's it going?
I had a fun week.
Oh.
You kind of know already. You briefly talked about it. I did
Oh,
testing.
what? We socialized outside of the podcast? Heresy.
I don't believe
I
it.
mean, no. This is the only time I speak to you.
And only begrudgingly.
Begrudging. I have to by
Begrudgingly, yes.
law. It's like a reverse restraining order.
It's in the
Or
contract.
court mandated hangout.
I didn't read the fine print.
I didn't know
A
what I
real
was signing.
mistake.
So test. You had a test.
Yeah, it was an awful test. I can't tell you how upset I am over it.
You think you did
Oh.
well?
It's not that I did bad. It's that the teacher, when making the online program and putting the answers in, he put them in wrong. So no matter what I did, I got them wrong. I'm so mad.
Well, I mean,
It
But
took
that
3
means
hours, and I did
he'll grade it
twice.
differently, yeah?
Hopefully.
oh, you hope.
Hopefully. Better.
Otherwise, he's gonna get a strongly worded email.
Yeah, strongly
Well, coming-
worded.
Coming from you, it'll be a passive aggressive email.
Yeah, I'm like writing in size 5 font, like, hey, could you change this?
I don't know if you noticed, but the answers are all wrong on there, and
I'm like, I got it right on every single try in the review, but for some reason tests say no.
Tests say no. Goodness.
Tests say no.
no.
Goodness, I have gone down the road, the secret road. We've returned to Metal Gear, and I've gone through Metal Gear 1,
Metal Gear.
2, and I'm going through Metal Gear Solid, and it's as lovely as a time as I remember it. And I plan on going to 2,
Metal
and then
Gear.
3, and then 4, and then Ground Zeroes, and then 5, and also I have Peace Walker. I'm just gonna do Metal Gear. I'm gonna Metal Gear it up. I got distracted despite that yesterday because the big hotness that everybody's hyped for has been waiting for how long now is the Elden Ring DLC. And of all DLCs to come out, the Elden Ring DLC is quite expensive for a DLC. Now, apparently it's quite expensive. Like there's a lot to do.
$40 or something?
It's $40, which is pretty beefy for a DLC. My guess is Godzilla Brother bought it, even though he hasn't beaten Elden Ring. Because he has to get it because it's the hype thing.
He hasn't bought it.
Oh, wow.
He told me earlier today, he's like, I actually beat it today. I'm like,
Did
"Any
it?
evidence?
You even don't trust? Like, I need the receipts. I need
Show me the
proof.
Chiefs, pal.
I mean, given I haven't beat it, but
I think I tried to friend him on PlayStation. He never got back to me. I feel hurt.
As you should. That's personal.
It's personal. Oh, by the
tell you,
way,
he cried.
I have the airing of grievances to have, Jason. I have
Oh, yeah?
beef.
Uh-oh.
I have beef with you, or more in particular, your wife.
Okay.
Because I saw her at least today when I went to the bank, and she ghosted me.
Wow.
And
That's
despite
funny.
the fact that we spend once a week together, and outside of me and you, we are the closest friends, or maybe I see her once or twice a year. One of those two.
Yeah.
She may not have recognized me, but I'm going to hold it against you. for
She
quite some
probably
time.
just didn't see you.
in her own centered
Well-
world, thinking about more children.
Well, I can tell
Well, at least, making sure that they survive. She was at the
Yeah,
grocery store picking up food so that my clan survives.
And stay
you know,
pure
like-
if you get
And
my
stay
meaning.
pure. Stay pure. Stay pure, Jason.
Oh, hey.
Uh,
So, this is kind of a stupid side thing. My wife had a procedure at the hospital in outpatient thing, so everything was fine, totally routine. But I had to drive her there and drive her back because I didn't want her driving afterwards. And she's very sociable, so she was talking to the nurses at the hospital, and we find out that one of the nurses at the hospital was behind a big push to get volleyball recognized as, well, not recognized, but sanctioned as a high school sport for boys in our state.
Oh,
okay.
Because of the way sports work in high school, you have to have an even number of sports. You have to have half that are girl sports and half that are guys sports. So if you have a male soccer team, you have to have a female soccer team.
Yeah, but
Now
guys don't
you
care
don't
about
necessarily have to have
volleyball.
1-to-1. You don't have, yeah, you don't have to have like a female football team and a male football team because there isn't any in the state. But if they've made it so that if a girl wants to try out for the male football team, she totally can. She won't get on the team, but she totally can try out for the team.
I'll tackle a woman.
So the state, so yeah, exactly. The state basically told the parents and students and things who are trying to get volleyball sanctioned as a school sport for the boys. They said, "Oh, the boys can join the girls volleyball team."
Then
if
they'll
they
just
want."
dominate the girls'
And so
volleyball team.
Oh, it's just boys
And that's
volleyball
exactly
now?
what happened. That's exactly what happened. And so they're like, "Oh, we'll make volleyball a sanctioned sport for the boys." A bunch of the boys from like Salt Lake and Provo tried out for their female teams. Yeah, it
This
didn't
is
go
far
well.
too localized in news to be talking
Yeah.
about. That
But
being
now
said,
now
that's not
volleyball is a recognized sport for the boys in high school in our state.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh, wait. I gotta tell you though,
What?
I was possibly at the same store, and I saw your father, Rhett, and I ghosted him.
Oh, you're related. Does he look unwell?
How could you?
Because
I just hid in another aisle. Just
well, just recently returned from hospital, so
Hospital?
like today. Regardless of the drama, I had other airing of grievances. Oh, by the way, there's a massive announcement for this podcast in particular. Everybody, Ross has now been accepted as a partner in Rhett B Law, so it's now Rhett Ross Law Firm.
I just want to say I'm really thankful for the opportunity, and I look forward to forwarding the cause of B Law in the future.
How do you feel about this, Silver? What's your problem, Silver?
Kaiju.
Is your bigotry coming to the to the surface?
So now we get to see.
Now that Ross is involved, how are you going to handle that? Yeah, you can't hide.
Yeah,
behind
you would
your sound
use that
effects.
noise.
You would use that noise.
I don't know what to do now.
This isn't going away. I'm going to harass you with this for the longest time. This is a thing now.
On your
This isn't a s-
deathbed, you'll just
on your
hear
deathbed.
Brett's
My own
voice,
voice.
B Law.
Okay, I'm gonna hire my own lawyer. Hear
Do
from him
that.
soon.
Do that. You're more than welcome to spend legitimate money fighting with me over my quote unquote legitimate law firm because you have a beef
We go to
that you can't
actual
deal
court
with
over
this. We're going to go to court over this. I'll see you there, punk.
I hired Jason.
Not
I'm
a
thinking
lawyer.
I'm thinking of going to their law firm. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, we could use a new partner.
Jesse?
No, Jesse. No,
No.
Jesse barely pays
What?
attention. She can't back you up. There's no lady unity in this thing. you're not getting
We all know
friends.
there's no female law. That's
Yeah,
not real.
there's no female
Stick
law.
together.
What a lie.
There is B law though, and we're practicing it.
Women don't deserve to be treated equally underneath the law.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. According to Rhett.
This is fact.
I'm gonna quote
Take
you
it
on
to your
that.
actual lawyer and say that
Ye-
Rhett and Ross of B Law told you that women don't deserve representation.
I should go down the road one day, look out the window, and out of an old Mexican restaurant, it just says "Bila."
Well, depending on, see, if I had the funding, you know how far I would take this? I would rent a building. I would advertise on television just to harass you specifically. Yeah, what do you do about it? We're going to drag this
Those
joke
lengths
out
we're
for as
willing to
long
go
as
to.
possible and then not talk about the. Oh, by the way,
Right,
everybody.
bitches.
Quiet, Silver. By the way, everybody.
Oh.
Despite after the airing of grievances, because it is not Festivus, but I feel like it's time. The center part of this podcast, the big new drama that's happened this week is the James O'Keefe secret interview with one of the executives of Disney, and we learned some fascinating things about
That
what's
was
going on
in
with
fact, yeah, fascinating right there.
well, it's like no one is surprised at what's going on here.
Yeah.
No one's shocked about the practices going on at old
Yeah.
Disney. But this is the topic to discuss. So we're going to play a little bit, and this is going to mostly discussion. I'll tell you where I'm going with this overall, but let's listen to a little bit of what's actually going on. What on earth is happening at Disney, everybody? So, in an interview with Michael Giordano, Senior Vice President, Team Lead, 20th Century 20th Television, the Walt Disney Company. He works mainly with the television side, so Disney Plus and that sort of thing, not with the movies.
Right.
But he has some interesting things to say. And if you're familiar with James O'Keefe, whether or not you agree with his politics or not, he does do undercover interviews and expose some interesting stuff. And as it turns out, which no one's surprised about, which everybody's been saying behind the scenes is happening, but we have one of the essentially executives flat out just saying it. They discriminate against white people, which is illegal, by the way. It's illegal to do that. But there's deliberate effort to discriminate deliberately when it comes to hiring practices, when it comes to casting, when it comes to the type of people that they pick. What was your reaction to this, Jason?
I was like, well, we all know this is going on, but it actually was kind of eye-opening to have him actually come out and say it.
Well,
we
he
knew,
thinks
we
he's
knew
on
it
a
was going
date
on behind the
is the
scenes.
problem.
We knew. What was that?
Well, he thinks he's on a date is the problem. He wouldn't have said this if he knew it was going to be
Well,
public, which is the point.
no. What I mean is the fact that, right? I mean, I would be surprised if this guy kept his job after this. It would not surprise me one bit if he got fired for this. This is something that you would never want to have your executives talk about ever. This would be like, no, we don't talk about this to anyone outside of the organization. But yeah, I mean, this you could totally see that this was a setup that he wasn't aware that he was being videotaped and things like that.
Well, I
so
feel bad
that
for
to
him
me
in his
is
honesty.
shady right there. Yeah, but the fact that he actually it's like I said, we knew that this was going on as soon as they started this stupid DIE stuff. And I'm going to keep calling it DIE because it's killing things.
Right.
But
I mean, this
the
is the
fact that he
conversations we've
actually
had.
came out and said this to somebody,
Well,
that's
I
a little
guarantee
bit
you they're
eye-opening
honest
to me.
about it behind the scenes. I guarantee you. He talks about how there are people he knows in HR that will flat out say they're not going to hire you because you're not diverse enough.
Right.
And
The thing
he
is
has
that
more experience.
now
He's
that we
got
have
11
somebody,
years.
now that we have somebody on the inside who has come out and said this is something that's actionable. This
They're
is
not gonna
something
do
that Disney should be taken to court for.
There should be a
Yes, they should
lawsuit,
be.
but it's not going anywhere. I guarantee you that. No
No,
one's
no, it's not.
surprised. Everybody
The thing
knows
is,
this is
what I'm
going
trying
on.
to say is we all knew it was happening, but it wasn't like anybody outside of the company was whistleblowing and saying, oh, wait. You know, the government should know about this because this is a bad practice. This is discrimination. It doesn't matter how you cut it. This is discriminating.
Do you really even
This is
think
discrimination.
California will pursue this in any way?
No. They never would. No. They should. They totally should. This is something that Disney should be nailed for this. Hard.
Should
for
be.
this.
There,
They should.
There
we
should,
should-
and then there will be.
And I get that. I get that. I'm just saying that we knew it was going on. Now that this is actually somebody out in the open stating this as a fact. That's what's kind of eye-opening about this. Not the fact that it was happening, but the fact that somebody is actually telling somebody about it. That was kind of my reaction. It was like, well, no, duh. But the fact that you are actually saying this, like I said, I would be surprised if this guy kept his job afterwards.
It's just unfortunate for him because he's being honest with somebody he's having a date with.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt bad because he seemed like a decent guy, but it's like we see, the thing is, as much as this shows up, and it should be eye-opening for anybody who's fans of Disney or even just aware of what's going on in the industry, that there's deliberate efforts to be discriminatory when it comes to hiring practices. And I don't really care so much about the fact that it's a white person. It's just that the current trend of diversity means not white when they talk about diversity. They mean it's just not a white guy. And when it comes to job applications and stuff, they are deliberately screening for this sort of thing. This is literally what the Civil Rights Act in this country says you're not supposed to do, is discriminate based upon things like race. And that's expanded to...
Yeah. In order for this to actually see the light of day, it would have to be a federal lawsuit. The federal government would have to come after Disney.
But no one's going to do
California.
that. I'm not talking about the legal ramifications of this. I'm not even talking about the Disney's going to get any hit for it, because the shills that like Disney are going to like Disney. What I'm talking about is this is direct evidence and something that blew up on the internet the last couple of days. At Disney's, and this is what's more important, Disney's attitude towards how they manage their business and their customers. Because as a greater commentary of what's going on, which is what we are talking, is more important to us when it comes to sort of entertainment and stuff, is that this explains where all of their content has come from, where all of their movies are going. He talks about how like 35% of writers are gay at Disney, and that's a huge percentage of the writers, which is why you get a lot of that reflected in the content that they produce at Disney.
Considering that people who are gay don't make up that much of the country,
it's a fraction.
That's not even like we need to have the token gay guy. That's like we need to overrepresent.
Well, right. No, actually, precisely. This is intentional. And then when people look at it annoyed, it's like, why does it feel like all of the content that's being produced, why does all of the content feel like there's a deliberate messaging? Why does it feel like there's a goal to sort of display certain ideologies or certain lifestyles or whatever? It's because they're doing it on purpose. And he deliberately says that Bob Iger is a part of saying deliberately to people, we need more non-white directors for these episodes, or we need more non-white actors for these episodes. And he does say, which I never thought that they would even think this would be a financial like gain, but he says they think it will be money, that Disney thinks it will earn them money, when clearly it's not. It's been failing Disney.
No,
but they think it's a successful
what
strategy.
I don't understand is it's like, this goes back to that old saying, when you've dug yourself into a hole, throw away the, stop digging. Disney just doesn't know when to stop digging. It's like, we've already dug ourselves into this hole. Maybe if we keep going, we'll get out somehow. Like, no. I guess maybe if it rains and fills up the hole, you'll float to the top, but you'll probably drown in the process. So go for it, Disney. You might as well self-destruct here, because we got to start over somewhere.
The point being, this company hates you. They hate you and what you think and what you believe, and they have a deliberate, intentional effort to be political and to push their ideology. A case in point, with all of the Acolyte drama coming out, I don't know why she thinks it's going to help her, but Amanda Stenberg made a rap video that she was proud of, talking about racism and how racist the audience is that are watching the show, and about Juneteenth, and that they're fighting against.
Let's double down on alienating our audience.
Well, this is exactly the point. This is exactly the point of bringing this up, not just because of the sensational aspect of it. It's because they hate you. They don't like their audience, which is a baffling strategy. And normally when they come out with a movie and they know that there's going to be controversy, the strategy was attack the audience and accuse them of like bigotry or racism or whatever. That way it becomes sort of a political movement. So that despite the fact they've alienated part of their audience feels politically motivated to support it, because the bad guys that I disagree with are not supporting it. Things like the Eternals, they deliberately said that it was saving lives, that movie, because of representation in the film, that it was saving lives. They want they want the stuff they produce to be a movement. Yes, Silver. Yes. They want it to be a movement. They want it to be a political goal. They want it to catch fire and go in the direction that they want it. I mean, this is why they're doing it. Look.
Yeah, and look how that worked for them.
Well, and they think this is going to work. I feel bad for her, because every person politically, because we've had multiple young ladies come out and be very political and get so lambasted they shut up for the rest of the time. Look at Rachel Zegler. Have you noticed she shut up? Have you noticed
I haven't heard
talking?
a thing from her in months.
Because the correct strategy is to put the thing out, but what you want to do if you're an activist is to make it a movement, to get people galvanized to support your thing, because it's important to the politics. It's important to the ideology that you support it, because they're diverse actors, because there's diverse sexualities or genders or whatever. They want it to be a movement, and they hate you when you don't like it, because I'm going to do a bunch of stuff that points at you and says, I hate our audience. And then they're going to be shocked when they hate you back. When then they go, I don't want to watch it then. How dare you, you bigot. You don't want to watch our content that we don't want you to see, because everything about it, like, literally says don't see this. This is where we've gone to. Ross, what do you think?
It's just fascinating. I mean, I know this all started because I don't know. I would imagine, and you kind of mentioned it started as we need strategies to open up our markets and try and hit demographics we're not hitting before, and then it somehow turned into like this weird like militant thing. It's really, really odd. I don't understand how it got to that point. I know I can assume how, but
Well, to give you
that's
some
harder to prove.
clarification, he says in the interview that they thought that increasing diversity would increase the market, but what instead it's doing is it's alienating the larger part of your audience by catering to the smaller part of the audience.
Yeah.
I
And it
think
doesn't
this
help
was
that
a
often
strategy.
when they come out to either promote these things or whatever, defend it, it's like they're being purposefully antagonistic, rather than just let people. Because I just think back to when Lord of the Rings was coming out back in the day, and people were annoyed that Ian McKellen was going to be Gandalf because he was gay.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I mean, granted, I was young, but I don't remember Peter Jackson coming out and being like, "Well, you know what? Maybe this isn't for you then."
You bigot.
Like, just let it blow over because it's stupid. Like, it doesn't.
Well,
Like, his
let
acting
the show
will
speak for
tell
itself.
the tale.
Well, right, but let the show speak for itself. If it's good, then people will forget about that.
Yeah.
They'll forget about the controversy.
And that's people barely remember that now.
I didn't remember that until you brought it up.
Yeah, and I barely remember that because I mean, looking back on it now, how could you not love those movies? They're amazing.
Yeah.
But prior to them coming out, people, and granted, I don't think that was a lot of people, but that was a thing that was said online among fandoms and
yeah.
Still,
but the thing is that I don't remember it being, and maybe if Peter Jackson had made a big deal about it, if he'd said, then go touch grass or kick rocks or something like that, this isn't for you. It might have been a thing, but when I heard that Ian McKellen was playing Gandalf and somebody said something about gay, I'm like, well, what does that even matter? He's not going to be like, oh, I'm Gandalf, I am so fabulous. He's not going to do that. He's going to play Gandalf as.
To contrast this,
that it would make no sense.
Well, to contrast this, just because he's gay doesn't mean anything because he's an actor. He's playing the character, which is a contrast to Doctor Who. Because when people said we're hiring a black gay man to play Doctor Who, it's like, okay. But then that black gay man reflected that into the character. So the character became very gay. Yeah. And the difference being they're making the character gay as opposed to, I don't care if the actor's gay, because the actor should be capable, assuming, to act as an individual
you would
in
think
the show. So. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I would venture to bet that there are a lot of movies you've seen that have had gay people in it. And it doesn't matter because whether or not the character is gay or not, like, it means nothing because the actor is playing a role. As opposed to literally Ncuti Gatwa's personal life was reflected in the character, and everybody went in reaction to it. Silver.
Well, and there's been kind of a trend too of more self-inserts anyway. So
that's definitely
media, not just films and TV show.
Well, especially in writing. Not that I'm going to jump ahead on anything, but the Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies flat out admitted that he writes about being a gay man or being a queer person because that's his experience. And so that's why he puts it in there, because he wants to. Silver, how do you feel about what's going on in the media? Where do you think Disney's going with this? Silver
Honestly,
left
not
us.
surprised
Oh.
that they're doing this.
No, I don't think anyway.
Yes. Am I being picked up here?
Yes, you are. Yours just a big pause. You're not allowed to think. You got to be on your feet. It's snappy.
I know my connection's really bad right now, but
it's always
anyway. I am not shocked at all at what they're doing with the hiring. I mean, ever since the whole the thing about one of the higher ups admitting to they're trying to make shows as gay as possible, I'm not surprised.
Well, why do these companies? Well, why do these companies? Why does Disney? Why does Lucasfilm? Why do the actors insist on attacking the fans? Don't you need those people? because that seems to be what they do. Every time there's something that people don't
Yes,
like,
you need those people.
they deliberately tack the audience. Silver.
They do. It's really weird. I don't
It
get how
is
they're
weird.
planning on getting anybody to watch their stuff.
Well, it's
Especially after all this, no one trusts them anymore.
no one trusts Disney. No one trusts Star Wars. And the nerve, like, you know who did this best? Because there was controversy around Little Mermaid, for better or worse, right? Whether or not you agreed with the race swapping and the characters and stuff. You know who did a good job with Little Mermaid? The actress that played Little Mermaid? Because she didn't come out and was like, it's time that black women were represented in this, or you know, diversity is our strength, or attacking the fans. You know what she did? She did exactly what you should do. Oh, I love Little Mermaid. I've loved it since I was a child. It's one of my favorite things. Be very positive, enthusiastic, and say, hey, go see my movie. That's exactly what you should do, as opposed to assault the fans and imply that they're just horrific people and every type of bigotry and racism possible.
If they had done that, if Disney had come out and said nothing except, hey, we're you know, doing a live action remake of Little Mermaid, and they made no answer to the critics, nothing like that, I think the movie still would have not been a box office bomb.
Well, the writing,
box office
the writing was
bomb is
poor,
not the
but
right word. What is it?
Nobody would hate the actress that played Little Mermaid.
Right. They still wouldn't have made their money back. It still would have been a poor movie, but it would have been water under the bridge at that point. So there's actually one thing that you reminded me of when you're talking about Ian McKellen, and I just looked it up real quick. So Tom Hanks, he did a movie a while back. It's been a long time now. Called Philadelphia, where he plays a gay lawyer who has AIDS, and he ends up suing the company that hired him because they basically fired him because of his sexual orientation and the fact that he had AIDS.
Did you forget we
so
memed that on this
Tom Hanks
podcast?
is not gay. What was that?
Did you forget that we memed that on this podcast?
Probably.
Yeah, it was in one of the intro videos. Chance was Tom Hanks.
Oh,
he also got an Academy Award for that movie. So an actor should be able to play whatever part you throw to them.
Well, clearly, that's
and
the
divorce
role of an
themselves
actor.
from reality.
Clearly, but now you have people who can't get roles because they don't fit the demographic of they're having this drama where they're doing voice actors, and they have a black character who's in a show, and they have to hire a black individual to play the black character.
Talking about the Disney stuff with the Little Mermaid. The characters, it's like Sebastian's a crab, but they had to hire a Jamaican. They couldn't have hired someone who could just do the voice like they did in the past.
Well, and you might want you might want an authentic Jamaican voice. That's not necessarily the point.
I mean, that's
the point being that.
But what I'm saying is that if you have a character, one of the things about voice actors, Mark Hamill is a good example of this. Mark Hamill is an exceptional voice actor. He can do so many different people and voices and things like that. It doesn't matter what role you throw him into, he can do that. But at this point, he's a straight white male. He's not going to get the part because he's a straight white male.
This extends to, this is the practice now when it comes to casting for roles. They had an actress. She was Black Widow in the movies. She was going to play Scarlett Johansson. She was going to play as a trans individual in a movie, and she had to leave it because of all the backlash because she's not trans. And it's like, well, but like, she's an actor. Can't she pretend to be like what are we talking about here? This extends this desperation to make sure that because superficially it's seen as inclusivity is a positive thing. It's encouraging. You want to be able to include as many as people as possible that might have been marginalized or not included in the past, to there's a deliberate effort for discrimination so that you can demonstrate and prostrate it in front of everybody that you are being inclusive, that you are showing every possible delineation of human being, except for, I guess, white man, to the point where it's become discriminatory. And that this is reflecting in the media that we consume, which is what this podcast is more about, not the politics of it. And that this media, now we're getting shows where it's like they're deliberately changing race of character. They're deliberately changing the sexuality of the character. Not because they have an interesting character that might be of a different race, but because they have to do it because of the political ideology and the DEI efforts, and the BlackRock gives them funding. And you can't be considered for an Oscar now if you don't have so many people of diversity in your film. They will literally not consider your film for Oscars if you don't check enough boxes. This is anti-art. This is anti-entertainment.
Yep.
It is the opposite of trying to create something artistically and based upon the artist's intention. This is deliberate, cold, political ideology shoving its way into popular mainstream in a deliberate effort to manipulate the audience. That's what's happening. And we see it with the hiring practices in the recent leaks. I think I made my point. Anything else anybody want to add to that, or got a rant under their belt before we run away from this topic, kicking and screaming? No,
you covered what I had to say, so I'm good with it.
Well, I feel bad because it feels like this is Rhett's platform to scream, and it's like I'm pissed off about
show.
this.
No,
It's
good.
the Rhett show. You're everything's the Rhett show. You're all just bit players in my life.
Absolutely, and I'm okay with that.
I play a bit role in Rhett's life.
You're the
story.
protagonist of this story.
I am the protagonist.
I've accepted my role.
I've accepted my life role. Oh, I love it. Jason, anything final to leave us with before you run away?
Not really. It's one of those things where all of this is par for the course now.
Yes.
Something comes out, you have to check the boxes for DIE, and if you don't, the critics lambast it, but the fans love it.
Related to this, Sharmeen Obaid, the Pakistani who is directing the Rey Skywalker movie, deliberately said that she is injecting feminism into the film. So,
oh, that'll be great.
And nobody's going to like
good.
it, and they're going to attack the fans, and then it's
right,
going to bomb. I mean, it's the cycle all over again.
Nobody will see it, and then they'll accuse us of bigotry, and it'll just be a topic on the internet for a while, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, and then some side project will come out by a different studio. I shouldn't say side project, like an indie project or something will come out from a different studio, or a retro throwback movie will come out, and everybody will flock to it, and they'll be like, "Why are you going to see that and not ours?" It's like, well, you should know why. There shouldn't be any. Yeah.
You hate your
audience,
hate me,
so they don't. I'm going to go see their stuff.
Well, it's like they deliberately point at you and go, "We don't want you here," and I'm like, oh, "Okay," and they're like, "How could you not show up for this?"
Yeah.
It's like, well, this.
Wait, no, come back.
No.
I didn't think you were actually going to walk away.
This feels like an abusive relationship.
It is abusive relationship.
Yeah, definitely feels like
they're gaslighting us constantly. And here's the thing: I don't care if Acolyte exists. I don't have to see it, and I'm disappointed with it when it comes to its connection to Star Wars because I like Star Wars. But if they're going to keep damaging Star Wars, I'm not going to like Star Wars anymore. I'm not militant about the fact that Acolyte exists. I'm militant about the fact that it's stupid.
That it sucks.
Oh, by the way, now that we've got our main topic out of the way, I think it's time to start shoving through the news like a person with irritable bowel syndrome.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big
Oh, you got it?
steaming pile of news dump.
I like when my comedy is broad.
Appeals to the base denominator.
Broad and obvious. Hey, everybody, Acolyte is at 14%.
It went down 2 points.
Oh gosh.
Stinky.
Oh my god.
We have had episode 4, and by and large, not much happened.
Oh my god.
The Wookiee Jedi that they touted as like a big feature of the show. Hey, everybody, there's a Wookiee Jedi in this. The Wookiee Jedi gets killed off screen, and everybody complained, why didn't we get a fight scene with the Wookiee Jedi? And the answer was, we didn't have the funding for that. And then everybody went, wait, you have $180 million budget for this show, and you didn't have funding to show a lightsaber fight with the Wookiee Jedi? Excuse me? Now...
It's hard, okay? I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, it's difficult.
Are we
The guy in the suit.
Limbo? We're playing Limbo with the
choreography.
Acolyte.
Yes.
How low can it go?
How low can it go?
Pretty low.
Oh, so by the way, there's expensive criticism about this episode. A lot of criticism when it comes to lore. So, since Jason's probably not know about this because he's a hermit, training his children for the future conflict.
So,
I'm going to give you information about what happened, and we could talk about it. So, by the way, if you recall, in Phantom Menace, there was a moment in the movie where a character named Ki-Adi-Mundi that was on the Jedi Council. He has a weird, like, cone head, little tuft of hair. He dies in the third movie. He gets Order 66. But Ki-Adi-Mundi...
On a bridge.
He makes a comment... On a bridge, yeah. He makes a comment that the Sith, we haven't seen them in a millennia, sort of thing. So that line is really interesting. Now, we come to episode 4. Ki-Adi-Mundi is in episode 4. And everybody went, wait.
Yeah.
First of all, this is 100 years in the past before Phantom Menace. And Ki-Adi-Mundi isn't born for like 40 years. Why is he in this show? And literally, as the show was airing, and Star Wars Theory can attest to this because he's going to sue Wikipedia, interestingly enough. As it aired while he was streaming, you could see Wikipedia live editing it to change his birthday so that it fit with the new show. So that it was accurate with the new show.
Oh my gosh.
Which causes all sorts of
I just want
drama.
to say that is like there's been cases in other fandoms where things don't line up between media. And all they do is denote the difference. They just tell you what it says in one and what it says in another.
And here's the thing,
So,
I'm not that...
That's really funny that they're going to act like that's always been that way.
Yes. And that's one of the bigger annoying problems. And I'm not that upset about... There are lore inconsistencies, there are canonical inconsistencies when it comes to different products that are produced. I'm not that upset about it personally. But the problem is, as they're observing sort of images of this evil person with a red lightsaber, it calls into question the line where he goes, we haven't seen the Sith in a millennia. And then the immediate responses you get from people is, she's not a Sith. And he's like, he doesn't know that. He just sees lady with a lightsaber. How is he not supposed to conclude she's not really a Sith. She's a different kind of dark side user. Oh, by the way, morality is relative anyway. So she, or whoever Smiler Ren happens to be, everything's relative, so might not even be a dark side user. It's just another Force user who sees the world differently. There's not really bad guys. It's not about good and evil. There's gray areas, as we talked about last week. So the bigger, like the bigger issue is his line, and everybody going, wait, this doesn't seem to line up very well. Like, what exactly is going on here?
It's such a cop-out. I have seen this so many times. They keep going back to that line from Empire Strikes Back that Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Luke Skywalker. It's true from a certain point of view. when he finally confronts Obi-Wan about him saying that Darth Vader murdered his father and all that stuff. And he's like, well, you do have to realize that before Empire Strikes Back was or Return of the Jedi, excuse me, that's when he said it. If it wasn't it, it wasn't until Empire Strikes Back was written that George Lucas decided to put that in there. So they had to go back and retcon the line. Not that it's actually something that that is, you know, actually valid in this instance. And just coming out and using that line is such a cop out.
Yeah.
It's such a stupid thing to rely on. Oh, it's true from a certain point of view. It's true because George Lucas was like, well, it would be a huge twist if I made Darth Vader actually Luke's father. I said, I had Obi-Wan Kenobi say that he'd killed Luke's father. I guess I got to change that. And they're doing the same thing with the Lord of the Rings, with the Rings of Power stuff. They're like, oh, but Tolkien was writing his Legendarium and rewriting parts of it, and
Well, that
that's
doesn't
why
mean
we can
you
have
get to
this
rewrite it.
Rings of Power. No, that's stupid.
No.
Yes, it was a work in progress, but that stuff wasn't published. That was his private notes on things. That's what he based. He got a good idea. He wrote it down. He thought of something better or something different. He changed it, but that's not canon. That's his notes. The only things that have been published actually were the before his death.
We're getting off topic here.
The Hobbit and the 3 Lord of the Rings books. Yes.
But the point being, when it comes to this episode,
anyway, the whole canon stuff.
Well, right, canon issues aside, the backlash to people being annoyed at the problems with it has been epic. This is where you got the Amandla dancing and attacking the fans. It's her clapback against the chuds, the Star Wars fans. It's like, you need those people to watch your flippin' show. How about, hey, look, we'll do it more of a mitigate. Like, hey, look, everybody, I understand that you're passionate about Star Wars. We're going interesting directions with it. We're going to do our best to explain why the story is this way, instead of like, screw you, chuds, you freaking racists. And it's like, what if they had Ki-Adi-Mundi is not a race, and people aren't attacking the show because of his race. They hate it because it's bad. They hate that, and I'm not even that upset about the Ki-Adi-Mundi thing. It's confusing and doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
It's just a really obvious thing to point to at the laziness of the writing and how it is just key jangling a lot of the times. Like, see, look, people like the prequels now, right? Huh?
Remember?
Because do you remember how in when the Force Awakens came out, how they were like really distancing themselves from the prequels?
Yeah.
And now they're to the point where they're like, please, God, love us. The prequels are good now, right? And it's just, it's so lazy that they can't even go on Wikipedia and look up when a guy was born.
No.
Like,
well, and then Wikipedia, that literally other fans trying to pretend it was always this way, or trying to run cover for a $1 billion company. Because if you make them activists to your cause, to believing in the thing, and that everybody who dislikes it aren't right because it's bad, their opinions aren't bad because the show is bad. It's because they're racist. So you can lie to yourself and convince yourself that the show's not that bad. It's only the racists that are complaining about the show. So you hate the people who hate the show, and then love it because you got to, because you feel a moral responsibility to back it up. By the way, the rap song, the hip hop song or whatever that she put out, she has been copyright claiming, YouTubers reacting to it all over the internet.
Nice, classy. It's a sure sign to make you look good.
Yeah,
to pull that kind of crap from your weird song you made up just to own the nerds on your Instagram.
To own the
That's
nerds.
smart.
On top of this, Ledley Headland has been responding to a lot of the negativity, saying that it's really sad and that this is the most important piece of art she has ever made, and how wrong and reductive it is for people to call it a show about space lesbian witches or whatever, and they didn't even watch it. They didn't understand the show. It's not about space witches who are lesbians. Lesbian space witches, that's how we call it. Well, here's the thing. Is that wrong?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched it, but
well, here's the thing. It might be reductive, but
does
is it
seem
wrong?
like that's what you're making it about.
But that's not the point. It might be reductive, but is it wrong? Are they or are they not lesbian space witches? Because they are. So what's your problem? You're like, well, there's so much more than that. Go ahead, Rob.
It's like getting mad at people for interacting with your art that you've created in a way that you don't agree with. And like, I'm sorry, like, I'm sure it is really annoying. I mean, I'm not that kind of creative person, right? Like, I don't have that sort of creative bone in me. But that's just how and especially when you're making, it's not like this is some sort of, it's in some sort of personal, like small project that she's doing. Like you're making something for $1 billion company. Like it's going to come with that kind of heat. Like, I'm sorry.
And a franchise people
what?
love. Yeah.
Like, yeah. And like people are going to, and that kind of reductive attitude has been used by both, like by fans of Disney stuff for a long time. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember how for a long time the internet hated Disney stuff for how they just Disneyized everything. And I mean, that was a thing with critics forever, like before the internet became a thing. Like they did not want Disney touching certain products and properties because they thought they were going to make it childish and simple and so that kind of reductive thinking when it comes to Disney especially has always been a thing. So I'm sorry you made a product helped make a product for a $1 billion company. Like it's going to come with a certain sort of critical viewpoint. It's just how it goes.
Yeah. The goal, I suppose, would be to make it, I guess, accessible to a lot of people as opposed to attack them for not enjoying the thing that you created. But all right.
Well, that's just silly. Why would I do that? They need to like it the way I like it.
Yeah. Interpret my art the way you want. Isn't there this whole thing of like, as soon as the art's out there, you can't control how the people who observe it interpret it?
Yeah, like authorial intent is a thing, but at the end of the day, it is up to the interpretation of those who view it.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes those two things can live in harmony together, but not always.
Not always. Dune is a good point, good example of that. Let's shift on. This is formatted poorly. Jason, this is one of your articles. Why don't you tell us about fish?
This was one of the just stupid things that shows up on the internet every once in a while. Apparently,
Live edit.
this guy had rigged up his fish tank so that his fish were playing Nintendo Switch, and they managed to get back to the menu and spend his money on his credit card.
Oh God,
that seems like a poor plan.
Hey kids, be careful with what you're doing.
You know how much?
Well, it's like giving your kid the
It's
iPad
just one of those
and
funny
being
things that-
surprised when they spend a lot of money on V-Bucks or whatever. It's like, well, you shouldn't have given him access.
Yep.
It's your fault, not
Shut
mine.
up, Mom.
Apparently, it was
Gotta
like
get new skins.
he had set it up and everything, and then he went out of the room. And by the time he got back, his fish had spent his money.
Like drained his bank account. All right, next article, Jason.
So this is the thing is, this is so much. This to me is an epitome of what we're dealing with right here. So, we are possibly getting a Spaceballs sequel.
No, we are getting a Spaceballs.
Now, whether or not this will be, okay, yeah, we're getting a Spaceballs sequel.
There's a
whether
lot
or not
of fresh
it's going to be
content.
any good, but that's still up in the air. But apparently, George Lucas is behind Spaceballs, and he's basically said that it was better than The Force Awakens. So
Basically, like, what was
Oh,
his quote?
then check's not clearing anymore.
I actually, he's made some interesting comments where it seems like he's had some resentment towards how things
Yeah.
have gone by. There was a comment he made where it was something like, because people asked him about strong female characters in his show, and he talked about Leia and how great he is, and he's like, you have
Yeah.
to write a good female character. You can't just put pants on her and then make her a masculine
Right.
character. And it's like, oh snap. I think he's talking about
Those
somebody.
white slavers.
What's
don't
it?
like 'em.
Well,
But I guess
there's a lot
it's
of
Josh
hypocrisy on
Gad.
his end.
A lot of the he's been sharing some posts on Facebook and stuff about the script for this possible Spaceballs sequel. So
Yeah, it looks like it's probably happening from what I've seen. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sp-
and it's
Spaceballs.
based on characters created by Mel. So yeah.
Well, yeah, the previous Spaceballs. All right, our next article. Rings about season 2 is
so
fixing a big season 1 complaint.
this
I doubt
one-
it.
Yeah, basically we all know what the first season's complaint was that Galadriel is not fitting into what we as fans know what she's like.
She's
from
an
what
unlikable
Tolkien wrote and
douche.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if you're someone like me who doesn't read Tolkien, she's horrendously unlikable.
Basically what they're saying is that season 2 was always meant to fix these problems with Galadriel,
No.
that she puts on the ring and it changes her personality so that she becomes
No.
this
No.
the person that we know her from the books.
No. This was our plan all along. We had this complex 4D chess game.
We were
going.
going to make you
you'll
hate
see.
Galadriel, and then we were going to make you like her later.
Their plan was.
What's that?
I mean, come on.
What's that
For
really?
the- Go ahead, Ross.
Their plan was to make boatloads of money.
No,
well,
well, no.
I was gonna say, what's the online forum joke? I was actually just pretending to be retarded. Like, oh, okay.
Well,
Like,
the nerve.
so
the
you just
nerve-
wanted her to be a horrific asshole and have no one enjoy the show? Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the nerve to claim that the show's lack of success and the massive hate it received was part of our secret plan.
Yeah. Like,
No, this is where we were going.
Okay.
This feels like massive cope from some fans of the show that are trying to wave away the dislike of the content.
At least the article doesn't necessarily present it in that way, that they were trying to get that they wanted us to hate the show, and then it's that they wanted Galadriel to appear this way, and then later when she puts on the ring, that it changes her, it shifts her thinking and everything. I don't know.
Lots of stuff to go through.
Seems such a massive. Again, it seems such a massive cop out.
Right.
They're
News
like,
not
oh
being
yeah,
what
we
it
were always
is.
planning to do it this way. Tee
Okay, well, news not being what it is, let's get this turd out and keep shoving forward. Best part about Lord of the Rings is why I
Again,
just
this
can't.
is kind of what I alluded to before, where
Yeah.
basically the guy who wrote this article, he was saying that Tolkien wrote this as a found manuscript, that Tolkien wrote it as, I found this, and then he retconned certain parts of The Hobbit later so that it would fit in with the Lord of the Rings lore. And this is where I was getting that thing where Tolkien was, he wrote parts of the
here's the
Legendarium,
point.
and then
That
he
does-
rewrote them and things.
Okay, Jason, but here's the point. That doesn't mean you can change it. If he changes
Right,
it to try
exactly.
and fix with his other content because he was constantly tinkering, that's one thing. I
That's
made a
a
comment.
completely different story.
Well, I had a debate with somebody online where
It-
somebody was
but just
talking about the changes in Rings
Just
of
because
Power.
yeah,
And I was like, well,
just
Tolkien
because
was famously
Tolkien changed it.
I'll finish my point. Tolkien was famously obstinate about his work, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" He
Yeah.
constantly tinkered and changed stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, he changed it. I didn't change, and nobody else has the right to change it. It's his specific work." And guess what? When people decided to change parts of it, like the famous story about his editor, where they kept changing the spelling for dwarf, and he would have basically a fight over it. And he's like, no, I invented this language. This is how it's spelled in my work. Stop changing the word for dwarf. Don't imply just because that he tinkered on his intellectual property that means everybody else can start shifting content around.
Exactly.
It is a horrifically bad debate tactic, and we don't need to.
Nah,
Dwell
revisions
too
are not
much.
allowed.
Revisions are not allowed.
Can't correct
And
anything. No revisions.
that's exactly what my point was going to be. It's his work. He can change it. And on top of that, the stuff that was changed were his private notes that were released posthumously.
Well, and Christopher Tolkien did
It's
his
not
best
stuff
to
that was like-
consolidate and make sure
Yeah.
they work together. If you
Right.
recall last week, Jason,
But the
you
thing,
talked
not only
about-
that, but he did print things where it was like, this was one story that my father did. It was 10 years before this one. You can see the changes between these. So, obviously, but that does, again, like you said, it doesn't give you carte blanche to change whatever you want.
But
You need to stick with what was published.
let me point you to Leslie Headland, who said that Lucas doesn't own Star Wars, or he's not the sole owner of the lore of Star Wars, or however she phrased it. I'm getting that
Yeah.
really
Oh.
incorrect. Yeah, and it's like, excuse me, what? Like Star Wars just existed in the ether, and Lucas happened to be the one to pluck it out, but it's everybody's. He doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Catwoman's costume, I guess. Jason.
So
what do we care
Catwoman
about
got a
her
new costume. It's based on Zorro,
It's got a
and
little
it
bit
makes
of
her look like a pirate.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a long Halloween look. I don't like it.
Pirate Catwoman. She be the ship's cat.
It sucks. Moving on. Let's see. Star Wars stuff. Jason, more Star Wars.
So again, we have Anakin Skywalker wasn't the first child conceived by the Force.
Yeah, they did that on purpose.
The Acolyte has introduced a new Sith Lord, but we don't actually know that it's a Sith Lord. I don't think that they've ever claimed it to be. And so later on, they can totally say, "Oops, it wasn't a Sith Lord. We were just fooling you." The Sith risks exposure long before the Phantom Menace. Star Wars confirmed how the Acolyte fits into the rule of two. The Acolyte mission to kill a Jedi is even more dangerous. Apparently, she needs to kill a Jedi without a weapon, and then she takes
Yeah,
their
that's a
crystal
thing in the
from
first
their
episode, and then she
lightsaber.
stabs the Jedi with a weapon. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like I
Apparently,
suppose
George
if
Lucas
I
said,
cared more about Star Wars, I'd be really upset about the lore changes, but it's dead to me. So
yeah. Well, apparently George Lucas said Wookiees can't be Jedi Masters, and then they
did that. Yeah.
have changed that.
Well, they have to
Yeah.
have peace in their heart, and
apparently-
literally in the
yeah.
episode, the Wookiee is like screaming at people, and it's like, oh, clearly you have problems with the fear issue in your or the anger, if you will.
Apparently there were two other things: the Miralians and the Zygerians. But
Well, moving on. Jason, really quickly, what do we got here?
didn't we do this one? Yeah, we already did that one.
Maybe it's
That
in
was
there
the
twice.
guy
or I
who was
clicked
saying
on the
that
wrong one.
basically.
That's fine. Move on. We don't have time. Catwoman's costume. Let's see. Retcon.
Yeah.
Todd Howard.
So
Tell me about
Todd Howard apparently is said. So there's
Shove the turd out, Jason.
Starfield has a $7 mission, and he's saying that they hear the feedback.
Yeah, I doubt it. Starfield sucks. Moving on. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth co-director says Part 3 will answer remaining question. I expect it will.
Yeah.
The problem is Final Fantasy VII Remake has a lot of complex story intricacies, so it's possible we're going to still have a lot.
Yeah,
of
they're going to answer some remaining whatever remaining questions there are, and they're going to deliver an even greater ending to the original JRPG. So
I hope so.
Look
It's
forward
a great
to
game.
that.
I do.
I do hope that it will be better, but unfortunately, with what's been going on recently, I have
They have had a good track record. It's the
you
exact same team that did Remake and Rebirth, so I feel fully confident.
Yeah,
Kathleen
it's the
Kennedy
same
is
te-
blaming
yeah, it is
Star
the same.
Wars fans. for the Acolyte failures. That's not unexpected. I mean,
this one is somewhat interesting because apparently the people are obviously Kathleen Kennedy is blaming the fans rather than taking responsibility for ruining Star Wars, like she should. And it has been pointed out by fans that Fallout is doing much better, and it has a female lead.
Good job. We are going to do our best to shove through this because there's a whole review to come, and it's going to take an hour, and we are running long because there's a lot of fun discussions to have. What do we got next, Jason?
The last one is about Tom Bombadil. Apparently, the Rings of Power season 2 is teasing answers to, according to the title here, a question that Tolkien that Tolkien himself didn't answer. And it's like, well, if he didn't answer it, there's probably a good reason for it. So why should you answer it? If somebody of his caliber didn't answer it, his caliber of a writer, you think you can, one up him? Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Don't see that happen.
They do. Every single writer.
I am the best.
Every single writer wants to take whatever it is and thinks they can do better and put their own spin on it. This is a established attitude in Hollywood right now. Shifting on, one of Nintendo America's community manager, I don't even know community manager, James Wong, who works with the company, is one of the managers, attacked fans and talked about how white people are awful and kind of encouraged racism towards white people, and then pretended later in tweets that he didn't do that. So this is encouraging, but this is unexpected. Like, they attack fans. This is what the strategy is in popular entertainment right now. On top of that, Kotaku and IGN editors have been calling for video game developers and publishers to condemn gamers for opposing woke ideology. Once again, attack the fans because they don't agree with your politics and what you're doing to the content that they love. Apparently that looks like they're going to try and do an Enemy Mine remake. I don't like the idea because believe it or not, Enemy Mine is a perfect movie and it doesn't need to be remade.
Yes. I'm very upset by this. That is a childhood film for me, and I'm so scared.
Yeah,
you should be.
Enemy Mine is a perfect commentary on racism.
Ruin it.
And it's not just a one-sided.
It's really
it's not just a one-sided commentary. It's a talk about how both sides need to put aside their bigotry and understand one another so that they could survive on a planet, because it's like a sci-fi thing. It's a beautifully done commentary on the effect that bigotry and racism has on people and how you should be more open to understanding one another. And I don't think they're going to get the nuances of that story correct in a remake. Just saying.
No.
And Ross is afraid.
They're looking at it and saying, how can we change this to fit our message? And they're going to completely miss the point of the entire movie.
Yeah, they won't understand it.
We're going to either end up with a schlock fest where it's like a total action movie, or they're going to change and subvert the message so far that it's, you need to agree with us, otherwise you're bigots.
Yeah, the white guy's going to be mega racist. I mean, moving on, for the second time this season, Doctor Who has posted the worst overnight numbers in franchise history, everybody. No one's shocked that Doctor Who is just tanking hard.
None of us are shocked at all.
And for our final story of the night, the Blade movie loses his second director. How many years has it been out since they announced this film? I mean,
it's been since before COVID, hasn't it?
Since before COVID. But we're going to set aside the news dump. What's that, Ross?
Oh, I just want to say that's a really horrendous sign, and they're going to have a hard time getting anybody onto the project if they keep losing people like that.
It doesn't look good. They've had massive rewrites. It's been quite a few years now. I want to say 3+. But
when you lose either lead actors or directors or both, that's then it becomes cancer in the industry, and no one will.
But this is the second director they've lost.
It's really bad. That's a really bad sign.
It's a really bad sign. We're going to set the news dump aside. And overall, we are going to finish off the podcast really quickly with Jason Singh. All right, right, Jason, what do you got? Oh, wait. Get
Oh.
out of there. Okay.
See you, Galadriel.
Bye, punk.
We have Galadriel versus Celeborn.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
We're on the next round. So we've gone through the first elimination. We are on the second round of eliminations. It is Jessica Jones. She is 5'7", weighs 124 pounds. She's female. She has superhuman strength, a healing factor, and the ability of flight. As you can see, her stats from the Marvel page there along the bottom, and she is up against Luke Cage today. So Luke Cage, 6'6", weighs 425 pounds. He is male. He has bulletproof skin, damage immunity, super dense body mass, healing factor, superhuman strength, hand-to-hand combat, and superhuman durability. I don't know about anybody else. I'm kind of biased, I guess, in this. I think Jessica Jones is going down. I can't see any way that she pulls out in this, pulls ahead in this
Cage
one.
is like a movable boulder.
Yeah. Superficially, look, there is a very even. She's extremely strong and extremely capable, and the fight would be pretty rough. But as I sat, because I consider this to be a lot closer last week, but I sat and kind of reflected on it, and I was like, you know what? Luke Cage is a dangerous man, and he's got a lot more going for him than Jessica Jones is. And as much as she is someone capable of injuring him, I think he still wins. Oddly enough, they end up in a relationship, hilariously. But
yeah, they did. They were married and they had kids.
Yeah, I mean, she can do damage to him, but he could heal himself. He is extremely durable, and I think he still puts her down.
The thing is that while she has the superhuman strength and things, she just doesn't have the damage immunity, the super dense body mass, the superhuman durability. He doesn't have those, and I think that stuff grants him an edge in this particular combat.
Anyway, I side with Luke Cage. Anyone else vote?
Clearly Luke Cage.
Oh, okay. Well,
all right. Luke Cage moves on.
Wasn't as nuanced
and we'll have another match
conversation
next week.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say we have the tournament moving on next week, and we will have, let's see, Daredevil versus Mr. Negative. So look forward to that next week.
Ooh. I love Daredevil, and I am heavily biased, to be fair. Mr. Negative's a nasty dude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Who is that man? I've no idea.
Well, you're not a comic book person, so a lot of this discussion is me and Jason. Yeah, Mr. Negative. Yeah. I'll have to think on this before, and I'll give a reasoned response as to where it goes from there. At any rate, end of the podcast. Let's not drag this out too long. Jason, what?
Have a good week, guys. Just try to find something to enjoy. I know it'll be hard, but try to find something.
Giving us positive vibes, Ross.
Not Rings of Power.
Not Rings of Power.
I will. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how much further down this great Rings of Power show can go, and what wonderful news the corporate world and media can give us. I'm very excited.
I love that you were going to watch through it with your girlfriend and just hate watch it, and she won't watch it anymore. So you might have to do that with me.
Because back when it first came out, she was like, "Watch it with me," and I'm like, "No, it's going to be terrible." And she's like, "Well, I'll watch it." And she got 4 episodes in and was like, "No." And she tried to watch it with me, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I can't do this with you." And I'm like, "I knew it. I knew it."
Well, you either might have to do it solo alone, or you might have to do it with me once a week.
Hey, happens. It'll be a good time.
Silver.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Enjoy more Rings of Power coming soon. You're dying inside.
You're dying inside. I feed off of your negative energy. It sustains me. So when you
Right.
suffer, it
Rhett's
buoys
thriving. I'm
It
dying.
buoys me.
Who else is with me?
me. Think of me as
After
a
I watch a
leech.
Rings of Power episode, I have to power wash my brain with something that's actually good.
No, think of me
Aw.
as a leech. I
know.
suck up your suffering.
It's like an
My
hour
favorite.
something minutes, and yet I need like an additional 3 hours of something good to purge that.
To decompress.
Yes.
To
Just to
let it go.
forget the horror that has happened.
Yeah, more Elden Ring for me, more Metal Gear. Yeah, exciting stuff. We're gonna get out of here. Thanks everybody for coming along on this exciting podcast. Goodbye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.